So once you've got the right person for the job, how have you adapted your onboarding checklist or process for a remote environment? If you're on a permanent remote team, there's certainly no need to carve out time on your first day for a tour of the office or other elements of the physical space. But what about the quote-unquote stuff they need to do the job? Having an email address and a computer login on day one is no longer the baseline expectation for your IT systems and infrastructure. One way to approach this is with a technology stipend. So upon their hire, you would provide each new employee with a certain valued technology stipend direct to their checking account so they can purchase the IT or home office equipment they need to be successful. So for me, this would have meant a really nice laptop and a new exercise ball to replace the old kitchen chair I had been using at my desk. I already had monitors and other accessories, so I would have chosen to upgrade several features on the laptop and still stay well within that stipend's total. So this is just to say it's really up to each employee to choose how they would spend that money, but you should lay out your expectations for how it should be used and provide examples of the equipment that everyone else on the team owns just to sort of direct that spending. The stipend is normally paid to them as soon as they're enrolled on the payroll system, and as a result, those items would be theirs to keep. And I know this is a bit radical if you're used to a massive on-site IT department who tracks and updates each piece of technology, or a facilities department who maintains your cubicles and chairs. If you're remote first, you may not be interested in having employees ship computers and furniture back to your home when they leave the company. If you don't have an office to store all of these things, your company president or HR manager wouldn't be all too happy if they had to fill their spare bedroom with old laptops and monitors. For some organizations, this policy can also alleviate some headaches for your CFO, who would have to manage the ongoing inventory and valuations of each item if they were owned by the company, which could be hard if everything was located across the country. You could extend this policy by offering employees a smaller stipend on an annual basis to replace or upgrade their current tech or purchase additional items as they refine their remote work styles. Building an inclusive remote work culture hits an integral point when you're making first introductions around the organization. As overwhelming as it is to have a sea of new faces paraded in front of you in a physical office, I think it's even harder to manage virtually when body language and other nonverbals, may be missed throughout that communication. To build strong relationships with new team members, one thing I've had success with is having everyone write a personal user manual. While the name may be a little eye-roll inducing, this document enables all of your cards to be put on the table, establishing clear expectations around work styles, communication preferences from day one. In a physical office environment, a lot of this information could have been absorbed in passing by sharing a cubicle wall or shared casually while refilling coffee in the break room. Those options don't exist for remote teams. Obviously, the information you share doesn't have to be extremely personal in these personal user manuals, though it could be. It should help your colleagues better understand what makes you tick, how you prefer to receive information and make decisions, and even simpler things like your working hours. Here's a very trimmed down, stylized version of my own personal user manual to show an example of the type of candor and detail I suggest including. The internet is full of examples of these types of documents, so find a format that works for you and your organization. I think the delivery of this information is best through one-on-one meetings within the first week of a new hire start date as they get to know the broader team. But we also keep a repository of these user manuals for this whole staff so they can be referenced or edited later. And even after a few months with the organization, with HUM, we had these rolled out across the whole organization, and it was really interesting and insightful for me to read more about how people would describe themselves. And it really just helps you learn a lot more about your coworkers in a very rapid, period of time. Taking a step back, there's a question come in about providing the technology stipend. How do you handle IT issues with so many different setups and laptop types? Thank you for sending that in. That's a great question. When you have staff purchase laptops, we would recommend signing up for whatever support plan comes through with that style of laptop or technology. So if you have an Apple, signing up for Apple Care or some sort of local provider, Geek Squad, something like that, somebody who could help in more of a hands-on way. Certainly part of a collaborative remote environment would be, having somebody from a tech role within your organization do whatever they can, through chat or screen shares, things like that to assist. But in terms of hands-on technology support within that tech stipend, we do recommend people purchase some ongoing support in a more physical way that can help them. So moving back into onboarding, when I was onboarded with HUM, the most helpful piece of documentation I was provided was an onboarding guide. It was just a checklist of internal company documents that I could read and research in the downtime between meetings. Overall, I emphasize that much of new employee onboarding should be through side-by-side interaction, having them shadow you in meetings, be CC'd on emails, in addition to all the valuable one-on-one time you can spare. But it's not realistic for them to be with you on camera for 8 hours a day. An onboarding guide can provide a path to independent learning and help build a stable foundation for them to grow their relationships with colleagues. You should include things like company values and historical information, essential product or customer information, minutes from recent board meetings or strategy sessions, product demos, press releases, etc. These will obviously be tailored to your industry and to their role, but I urge you to think broadly about any documents or artifacts that you have at your disposal, real essential pieces of information that can help reinforce the messages and the training that you provide one-on-one.